Hey guys, what's up? And welcome back to the Mambas Legacy podcast. It's Cam, and today I'm joined here with Dylan from the Topic Thunder podcast. And you may know him as Thunder Chats on Twitter. Say what's up, Dylan.
What's up, guys? Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to talk some basketball with you.
Of course, I'm super excited to have you on today to talk Thunderball. I know you're one of the best out there for that. So I think the main place to start with that is the fact that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has gotten that extension, 5 years, 172 million. And he seems like to be the bright light that's going to be the future of this organization. What is your initial reaction to that extension? And what do you think he can do for your organization in the coming years?
Oh yeah, very much excited that he decided to re-up with us. There was a seeds of doubt was planted. Going into the draft process, everybody was throwing him in, hypothetical fake trades. However you want to say it. Teams were trying to valley for leverage in their trades, and they were throwing Shea in there. But I feel like most Thunder fans, felt that Shea was going to end up signing that extension, and little peek behind the curtain. I live in Kentucky. I'm from Kentucky. I'm a huge Kentucky fan. So I followed Shea, going in, like, even before he played a game at Kentucky, like, going into recruiting. So I've been following his career, like, since he was a junior in high school. And when he got to the Thunder, I was really excited. Like, even as sad as I was when the Paul George trade happened, I even said on the podcast that we actually recorded at like 3 o'clock in the morning, the reaction podcast. Like, at least we got Shea. So I've been very high on Shea, and seeing him take the jump that he took this year, it gave me a lot of vindication because for a while everybody was like, oh, it's just the Kentucky fan, it's just the homer over there that's saying that he's going to do all this stuff, but for him to actually go out and do it, with the lack of talent that was around him, like compared to everybody else in the league, like I said, it was vindication. But no, I think the most important thing on that contract is, it's 5 years. Yes, it's 176 million, absolutely, or 172 million. Sorry. But there's no player option on it. Like, he doesn't have like a get out of jail free card. Like, he's like, it's 5 years, like no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, I know, there's always the possibility that he can ask out on a trade, but at the end of the day, like it gives us flexibility not having that player option. So very excited to have him on here. Have him on the squad for, the long term. One of the most talented young guards coming up in the NBA. I think he should have been an all-star this past year. I think that he thinks that as well. He's a guy that has, some of the best work ethic in the entire league. Anytime he has time off in the off season, just get in the lab, he comes in, he doesn't just make a jump, he makes an absolute leap. So that's kind of what I'm looking for this next year. And yeah, I mean, I could go on for hours about Shea, so I'm just going to stop right there.
Well, it seems like you're very high on him. And just to respond to a few things you said there, first off, being I did definitely see where he was floating around in some trade talks for a while there. And even I know if you guys weren't expecting him to be traded, I'm sure it feels really good to get him secured in such a strong deal for the future because it's crazy out there. You
Yeah.
never know what's going to happen or what moves will be made.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was one of the commentary that was going on when, when a new rumor was tweeted, everybody's like, man, I can't wait like one more week until Shake signed his extension, and all these morons shut the frick up.
Yes. And then he definitely is one of the most underrated guards in the league. He is everything. His production's crazy. His growth is crazy. And then once again, he's so young, only 23, I believe it is.
Yeah, he's 23 or 24. I don't have it offhand. I believe if you say 23.
Yeah. Yeah. For his age, he's like ahead of the curve, I feel like. And it's such a shame that he's so underrated. But at the same time, I feel like the NBA this day and age really runs on those accolades. And he's almost last year too good to be on a tanking team, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at all the guys who have similar stats or compared to him, they weren't on tanking teams. So I feel like that definitely hurt his case for an all-star bid or any even further recognition from the NBA as a whole. So I think that he's definitely going to have to go above and beyond to even get an all-star bid this year, just because of the situation the Thunder are currently in. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's hard to penalize a guy that's, going out there and producing every night. And, like I said, the difference in Shai and a guy that's putting up identical numbers to him on like a competitive team, on like a playoff, like, 5, 6 seed, something like that, is he's doing it with like some of the worst talent around him in the league. Like I've used the phrase a lot. He's done more with less than anybody in the league. Specifically this past year, I think that he led the league in points per possession in terms of the pick and roll. And he had guys like Moses Brown and Isaiah Roby and now Horford as his pick and roll guys. So like if you give him a legitimate talent there to run pick and roll with, like, you don't know what's going to happen in terms of scoring. Like, he could reach even a higher ceiling than, what he did. So, and, the thing with Shai is like, he's a guy that could go out there and he can get his, like, specifically in the Spurs game. He had 40, 42 points. He easily could have got 50 if he wanted to, but he was committed to making sure that his teammates stayed involved, stayed in rhythm, and it actually paid off because that was the game that Dort was able to come in and knock down the three at the buzzer to win the game. And I've used that example on a million pods a million different times, but like that's just a testament to like how Shai is as a person and as a teammate, because he doesn't care about getting his. He wants the team to succeed. He wants his boys to ride with him. So I don't know. I'm highly optimistic that he makes the All-Star team. I know that the league and the fan bases alike kind of look down on tanking, and we don't want to be tanking, but that's kind of the situation that the NBA has put small market teams in order to get better. And as we saw last year, like I didn't realize this. Like I was talking to my boys on the podcast this past weekend. You don't realize how few games Shai played last year. He only played 35 games of 72 possible this past year, and we really struggled to tank before he was actually ruled out that plantar fasciitis. So it's going to be interesting to see. We've got some nice young pieces. We brought in Josh Giddey, Trey Mann, Jeremiah Robinson Earl. Was producing really heavy in the summer league, and of course we got Dort, Poku, Baisley, guys like that. So it's going to be interesting to see, assuming Shai stays healthy, how this team's going to perform, because I look at the roster and I don't see it as a bottom out team. Obviously, they're not going to be contenders or anything like that, but I don't think they're going to be as bad as a lot of people think.
I definitely hope that's the case, because I know last year was one of your worst seasons in a while. And I feel for Thunder fans. I mean, you can only be so excited about the amount of draft picks you have, but I'm sure you guys still want to win. Even though you have so many draft picks in the bag, you can only celebrate draft picks so much,
Yeah, for sure. It's a tough balance to process, or tough process to balance. Last year I told everybody that I kind of went to it like I was watching a movie. Like I don't really care what happens at the end. I don't care if we win or lose. I just want to watch the guys, develop and grow and, put on a show. I just want to be entertained. I just want to have a good time. So that's kind of what my mindset was this past year. And, Shai made a lot of those experiences very enjoyable, but no, it's, the tanking wouldn't have been so bad if we had been, I guess, rewarded. Like, I'm not even saying like, there's a lot of Thunder fans that were greedy and wanted the 2 top 5 picks, the Rockets pick at 5, and then, our pick to be in like the top 4. I'm not even saying that, but I think at the end of the day, there was like a 75% chance that we would have had at least a top 5 pick. So to get that number 6 pick, while, we are excited for Giddey and, we wish we could have saw more of him at Summer League, it is kind of a letdown, kind of a bummer. So I guess the morale going into the season about another tank with the possibility of getting another player like Josh Giddey at the end of the process, kind of, like I said, it's kind of a bummer.
Yes, totally. And I'd love to talk to you about that a little bit here. So actually, during the lottery, I was recording a reaction pod with some of the other guys, part of Mamba's Legacy and whatnot. And I know one of them was a Thunder fan on there. And when you guys weren't able to secure a pick in the top 4 or take the Rockets pick, being a Rockets fan, I am very happy about that. But I know it was a letdown for a lot of you guys. And then going into the the draft day, once again, I was recording with that same Thunder fan. And then I know when you guys got Giddey at number 6, right? It's 6.
Yeah, it was number 6.
Yes. I know that was a little bit of a surprise to this guy, being that Kuminga was still on the table and you guys passed him up. So I'm not sure what your thoughts are on that, but what was your initial reaction when Giddey was drafted before you were able to look into him? Because I know he was drafted higher than he was projected to be.
Yeah, I mean, initially, like, if you followed me on Twitter, if you followed my timeline, I was a James Bouknight guy. I had bought into all the smoke that the Thunder really wanted him, that there was like a relationship to be had there. And, after watching highlights and, kind of watching, breaking down his film, he was a guy that I was really excited about. And I was convinced that, was going to be the next guy to play, next to Shai, kind of relieve the scoring punch. And so, draft happens. We get to pick number 6. And Bouknight's on the board. Kuminga's on the board. Obviously, I wouldn't have been mad if we took Kuminga. Like, he wasn't the guy that I wanted. I wanted Bouknight, but I would have understood Kuminga as well. And then, we take Giddey. We don't do either of them. We take Giddey. So, like you said, it was weird because he went higher than projected. But that kind of shows the difference between, the media and their mock drafts compared to like what the actual NBA teams mock drafts are, or not mock drafts, but like their big boards and how they evaluate guys. Because it came out after the draft, the Warriors were planning on taking Josh Giddey if he fell to 7. So, it's not like we took it so the Warriors can get it. Like, that was obviously a player that, we liked. And I think a lot of all the confusion, on top of all that is there was no report that we had even worked out Giddey, that we've even met with Giddey. So it was kind of weird. But, immediately after we drafted, it's like, oh no, Sam Presti, Coach Agnault, and a lot of the other Thunder coaching staff actually flew out to California for like a special one-on-one workout with Josh Giddey. So I was like, okay. So they've done their homework. At the end of the day, we Thunder fans have a saying, it's trust the Presti. So, the Sixers got the process, we got the Presti. So that's what we got to do. We, after looking into it, we had some guests that actually are reporters for the NBL come in and, kind of give their insight on Giddey and what to expect. And, after, the dust kind of settled, we looked at it from 10,000 feet, it's not a terrible pick. Obviously there's some, lack of scoring that, might be worrisome, but at the end of the day, Josh Giddey kind of fits the new age Thunder type of a guy that can, has a high basketball IQ, is very skilled, and, can just grab the ball and, push it up in transition. So, yeah, I guess I'm excited for Giddey. You can say I'm Giddey for Giddey.
I like that. And it seems like with the new age Thunder, as you were saying, it seems like they're just really valuing versatility in these young guys. It seems like everyone who makes up your team is very different, has very different strengths. It doesn't seem like they're going in one specific direction. So, I mean, that could be beneficial. We'll see how they all mesh and work together. But I think that's very true, as I heard from a lot of other fans from many teams after they took a moment and actually looked into their pick a little bit more. If they were disappointed with who their team drafted, it makes a lot more sense in the end. As you were saying, you and your boys were thinking, and I'm sure that was nice to get some insight from those professionals who had worked with Giddey. What's the highlight of his game that those professionals offered to you, if you don't mind me asking, to share with our viewers or listeners rather?
Oh yeah, no, it's 100% the playmaking. They said there was one guy that said that I don't think it was a scout. It was somebody that worked like within the NBL. They said like, straight into the league, like there's tiers of basketball IQ. Like there's Luka's basketball IQ. Like on top of that, like with the Luka tier, there's LeBron, there's Chris Paul, there's guys like that. And it's like, and then there's Giddey's tier. Giddey's on that second tier, like coming into the league as an 18-year-old. Like that's how well he thinks and he knows the game. So his basketball IQ and his playmaking, just the passes he's able to make, right hand, left hand, cross court, up ahead on the break. Like I had somebody say that a lot of the passes that LaMelo Ball was making, this season, that was wowing NBA fans, or passes that Josh Giddey like routinely made. So, that obviously got Thunder fans excited, for his playmaking. So that's that's kind of a strength. And then secondary, his rebounding, he's a really good rebounder for his position. Even looking at him, he's just a skinny white kid, but he actually goes in and he bangs and he gets the board. So they talked about his toughness. I guess that everybody in Australia kind of plays what is it? I think Aussie rules football is what they said. Not rugby, but Aussie rules football. So everybody there has like their own brand of toughness. And if you're watching like the highlight videos, there was actually a play where he went up and dunked it and somebody fouled him and he went straight like horizontal, came down and smacked his face on the court. And, in the NBA in this day and age, like, if, somebody in the league, I don't know, like LeBron or Harden or somebody like that, obviously it hurt, but they would take their time and they would sell it. They would act like they got killed. They would like push for a flagrant. Giddey just hopped right back up like it didn't happen, went to the line and shot his free throw. And, that was that. And he kind of showcased that toughness in the one summer league game he played. He hurt his ankle, obviously. And, watching the game, I saw the sub go to the scorer's table and Giddey kind of waved off the sub. He was like, he wanted to stay in. He wanted to, try to play on it, try to compete. So we really admire that toughness. So yeah, I would say his playmaking, his rebounding, his toughness right off the bat is kind of his strengths.
That sounds good to me from the beginning of a young guy. I know he's very young, one of the youngest in the class. And then, of course, that experience he was able to develop over in Australia. I'm sure that that's something that I know the Rockets really valued this year, that international experience. So seeing that you guys also valued that. Seems like nowadays professional experience is what it's all about. A new thing that maybe these guys internationally might have been overlooked in the past, but it really seems like we're really looking more into these guys and what talent they really can bring to the table. I know Giddey, from my research and what I heard, he was first in assists in the NBL, kind of going off of what you said there, top 5 in rebounding. So this guy, he definitely has a bright future in the NBA, and I hope that he can really shine bright for his guys back in Australia.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's got the Aussie sense of humor too. I don't know if you've probably seen the TikToks be, reposted on Twitter, but I follow him on TikTok and dude's hilarious. He's a good time. We're
That'll be fun. A good guy to have in your locker room, I'm sure. So with that, I know another guy you guys were able to get this offseason in a trade was Derrick Favors. And I know that this was a case where the Jazz really wanted this guy off of their plate. It seems like they really just wanted to free up some cap space to be able to re-sign Conley, which totally makes sense. But he seems like they really were wanting you to take hold of him. So I know that this guy may not be the best guy to have, but what are your initial thoughts on him and what he can do in the league?
Yeah, Favors is he's a pro's pro. He comes in, he does his job. He's more of a traditional big man than, like a new age big man. So I don't really know what to expect from Favors. I wouldn't be shocked if he came in and he started for us and he played starters minutes. I wouldn't be shocked if he came in and he was the backup to, say Muscala, who's more of a floor spacer and, has built up a rapport with the Thunder coaching staff and front office, or even Jeremiah Robinson Earl, who has shown, the ability to kind of play small ball center in the summer league. And, he's backing up him. And I also wouldn't be shocked, to be honest with you, if we just, straight up try to waive him and cut our losses and, kind of play with the younger guys as well as, the guys that can do more floor spacing. I don't have anything against Derrick Favors, but I feel like it would be more mutually beneficial if we were to just cut ties, because it would free him up to go wherever he wants to go. And it would also, like I said, just give more opportunity for the young guys and, more spacing the floor for Shai, who's one of the lead leaguers and drives, in the entire league. So, that's kind of my thoughts on Favors.
For sure. I feel like it's just like I said, you kind of just got him and you'll have to roll with him and see what he can do for you guys. I know last season production wise, it was one of his worst, but then the season prior to that, the COVID year, that was his most effective season. So it seems like this guy is not really someone who's consistent at this time, but maybe he can be a bright spot for you guys. But it doesn't seem like he'll be the guy here for a while. It definitely seems like you guys will be parting ways pretty soon.
Yeah, for better or worse. I mean, I just feel like, there's, like you said, he had a rough year this past year. That a lot of that can contribute, or there's a lot that can contribute to that. Backing up a guy like Rudy Gobert, one of the best centers in the league. I mean, that's no, short task for anybody. So, that could skew things. If it comes to a position where somebody, a big man gets hurt, and or even a backup big man gets hurt, and they want to shore up their depth, then Derrick Favors would be a candidate that could slide into there. So yeah, I think I would say that we don't usually buy people out. We don't usually waive people. Like, we waive and stretched Kyle Singler, and that was like a shock to everybody when it happened. But I mean, we just bought out Kemba Walker. So I don't know. Maybe the philosophy is changing.
Right. You never know. It seems like you guys are doing really unique things over with the Thunder organization. So that's definitely something to look at. So I know that did you guys did in fact lose Horford in free agency. So what are your thoughts on losing him? And I know that at the end of last year, it became very clear that he, at his age at this time, does not fit into the Thunder anymore in the direction they're going, especially when they did bench him when he was perfectly healthy there at the end of that tanking season. But what is your reaction to losing him?
Yeah, I mean, Horford was a great piece in the locker room. A veteran presence. Obviously, he was a good floor spacer for Shai as well. So, he was. It was definitely a positive experience. I think that he was able to build up his value more as compared to when he was at the Sixers. I think he was able to show a little bit of what he's got whenever he's played in the right position, and obviously that seemed to be something that the Celtics ended up coveting. So, obviously he came over in the Kemba trade, and we was able to get another pick out of that as well. So yeah, I mean, I think that at the end of the day, he ended up where he wanted to be. Anna Horford, his sister, she's on Twitter, and she's kind of like the mouthpiece for Al in terms of like social media. And she said that they really liked Boston, they liked the Boston's fans. So I think that he's where he wants to be. At the end of the day, it kind of seemed like there was a mutual understanding going into the season that, like, after All-Star break, we're probably going to shut you down for developmental purposes, because, or that's at least how Anna Horford kind of portrayed it, and how Al's kind of spoke of it since then. So yeah, I mean, like I said, the goal last year was kind of to tank. We was pushing towards the middle. If Shai never gets hurt, do we shut down Al? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But, at the end of the day, I think he's where he wanted to be all along. And I think that the Boston fans are excited to have him. And I think that, he's going to be able to, come in and really contribute and help out that team, kind of be a connective tissue for, guys that he's played with before, Marcus Smart, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. And I think they all respect him, what he can do on the court and as a leader in the locker room. And, I think that it's really going to pay off for him.
Definitely. And I think that with a guy like him, that's all you can really want for him. I'm glad he's happy with Boston. I think that, like you said, is a really good fit for him. So I think that going forward, he'll definitely be able to be that connective tissue, as you said, because that's really important. And I think the Celtics will definitely benefit from him clearly more than you guys will at this point with in time. So before we go, Dylan, I'd like to touch on, of course, we talked about him briefly earlier on, but Lu Dort, another key guy, a part of your organization. And last year, I saw him improve offensively leaps and bounds. So I'd like to get your opinion on Dort, because I feel like we can't have a Thunder conversation without bringing up his name.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of people a lot of Thunder fans that actually would say that their favorite player on the team is Dort over Shai. So yeah, Dort's kind of like a legend, in the Thunder community, a guy that came in as an undrafted player. He was he was on a two-way contract. We was very judicious how we used those two-way minutes, but anytime he came in, he affected the game. He hustled, he tried hard, and he kind of made a name for himself in the playoffs, with how he was guarding James Harden. And, from there, it was like, okay, so we know what this guy is defensively. And, he hit those 6 threes in game 7. So, we saw a glimpse into what he could be. But, coming into this past season, I think at the beginning of the year, he was shooting like something like 38% from three after like 25 games or something. And we was all like, okay, did we legitimately get like one of the best 3-and-D players in the league? And obviously came back down to earth a little bit. His percentages slumped, but like you said, he really showed off his potential offensively. I think there was one game, I can't remember exactly how much he scored, but he scored 40 something points against the Utah Jazz whenever Shai was hurt, and he was kind of the lead guy. So that's kind of just like a peek into hopefully the future of what Dort can bring to the game offensively. He's not a guy that's just going to stand in the corner and shoot threes when he's open. He's a guy that can attack closeouts. He's the guy that can initiate the pick and roll. He's a guy that crashes the glass, makes nice backdoor cuts. Like he's really like we talked about earlier, he's a really versatile offensive player. And I think a lot of the reason that he went undrafted is because people were kind of unsure on if that shot was ever going to happen, because if he isn't able to shoot at a respectable clip, it doesn't matter how good of defense he plays, as we've seen with guys like Ben Simmons and, in the past, Giannis, if you don't have at least a semi-reliable jump shot where people like have to guard you, it's not going to help you in the playoffs. And obviously we're nowhere near the playoffs at this point, but I think that he's in a perfect situation because the Thunder's coaching staff and the front office have such an emphasis on development and developing their young talent. And, that's not just, in this coaching regime, like it was in Billy Donovan, developing guys like, Hamidou Diallo, Ferguson, which, is a name that people forget about, but he was a really solid 3-and-D player for us for a while before he went through his own off the court issues. Alex Abrinas was a guy that, he was a draft stash when we brought him in, and he was like a legit sniper for us. There was a few games he hit like 6 and 7 threes. So, the development in the Thunder coaching staff has kind of been a staple, going all the way through. I mean, you look at Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant, James Harden, like that's another testament to the Thunder's development staff. So, yeah, I think Dort's in a good place. There's not a lot of pressure. They're going to put the ball in his hands, kind of let him make plays. And, of course, they're going to rely on him to go out there and do his thing on defense, whether it's LeBron James, James Harden, Damian Lillard. It don't matter. He's up for the task. And I at the end of the day, that's why the Thunder Nation love him so much.
Yes. In a previous episode of this podcast, I think we were talking about the Warriors with Draymond Green being their defensive specialist. We were talking about how if you're going to be a defensive specialist, you really have to bring it to get the recognition, or really just to get your spot in a starting lineup, because of how much importance just having that shot has. And although we always say defense wins championships, I think that you really have to bring Lu Dort's caliber defense to really have the value in that guy, because of the importance of the shot right now in today's NBA. And I definitely think Dort, the names of those great offensive players that you believe he's up to that task to guard those guys, that's quite commendable. And I'm sure he brings that firepower to your Thunder team, and that's awesome. And then just going off of that, with the improvements he's made to his offensive game, I'm sure that those weren't easy to make per se, especially with the previous worries and doubts people had about him. But the fact that he really put in the work to make that happen offensively and bring it all together just completes his game so much. And I think that's just why he is such a valuable player.
Yeah, for sure. And, all that you said, everything he brings on the court, he apparently has a really strong work ethic, just like Shai. And also him and Shai are like best friends. It kind of went viral for a while whenever the team was getting vaccines. Shai has a fear of needles, and Lu Dort was there to literally hold Shai's hand whenever Shai got the vaccine. So, it seems insignificant, but like we said earlier, Shai is kind of like the franchise cornerstone now, and we're going to do everything we can to make him happy. I don't think the organization wants to get rid of Dort, but I think that his relationship with Shai, on top of everything that he does on the court, will kind of keep him out of potential trade rumors.
Yes, definitely. And being a Rockets fan for so many years and like seeing what we had to do to please James Harden for so long and how those relationships never panned out, it was really that's what kept us, I believe, from winning a championship is that those relationships couldn't work out. So looking at the culture you guys are building in OKC and that bond that those two have is just really special.
Yeah, for sure. And but before, yeah, I know you said like that was one of the last questions. I just wanted to say before we got off, like, I know a lot of Thunder fans are kind of butthurt about the Rockets' future and everything, but I mean, I think you guys got a good future coming on. I mean, Jalen Green was one of my favorite players coming into the draft. Back when everybody had him like pick number 5 projected. He was the guy that I had as number 2 for a long time. I think he's going to be a legit scorer in this league. Sengun was a guy that I was also really excited for, and of course the defensive prowess of Christopher and Usman Garuba, on top of Christian Wood, KPJ, the guys that you have. So you guys are definitely going to be a fun team to watch, and I hate you for tanking better than us.
Well, thank you for those remarks. But with that, you brought up something else that now I got to ask you about here. So
Oh
I know
man.
you guys traded the rights to Sengun there, and you did
Mm-hmm.
get a pretty hefty return. But what are your feelings on that now that you've seen what he has done in Summer League?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's hard to like you shouldn't overreact to summer league, but at the end of the day, it's hard to not overreact to summer league because it's what's in front of you at that moment. I think time will tell what Shengun's able to do in the NBA. I believe that he's going to be a big that can obviously score. The question is what he's going to be able to do defensively. Um, I would have liked it if we took him at 16 and then we got Trey Man at 18. Like if we walked away from the first round with Giddey, Sengun, Trey Man, like I think a lot of Thunder fans would be a lot happier than they were, just because the protections that kind of fall on the 2 firsts that we got. But at the end of the day, maybe Presti just didn't value Sengun like that, and I think I'm sorry, how a lot of people have valued that 16th pick compared to those other 2 picks is, those other 2 picks will be as good, if not better, than that 16 pick. Is kind of like their reasoning for it. I don't know if I 100% agree with that. So like, I guess the short answer for that is I don't know. I really don't know. I would have liked to have
Only
Shingun on the
time will
roster.
tell. Only time
Yeah,
will tell.
yeah. He would have filled a need for sure because we was talking about Derrick Favors and Mike Muscala, and I love Moose. Like he's a friend of our podcast. Like I talk to him every now and then, but like he's not our answer going forward. So it would have been nice to have Shingun to kind of fill that big spot need. But you know, like I said, I think he'll be good. It'll just be interesting to see if those defensive concerns kind of pan out or not. I think that they're kind of overblown, but we'll see once the season starts.
Right. And to be perfectly honest, I know at the first moment when that trade happened, where you guys traded those rights and we gave you those picks for the future, the initial reaction by the Rockets or Rockets Twitter rather, was, oh my gosh, we gave up so much. This is a terrible move. And then
Mm-hmm.
I think we just kind of forgot about that when we saw him play. So I think we may have just gotten lucky, but we did give up a lot in return. So I think in the end, it was a fine move for you guys to pass on him. I think that those picks you got for the future, adding on to all the other picks you have, will be very nice. But I'll leave you with this last question. What are your expectations for the Thunder going into this next season? And just leave us with a little closing message about the Thunder.
That's tough. My expectations are we are going to be a really fun team to watch. If you watched any Thunder games this year, even with the lackluster talent around SGA, I think that the system that Mark Daigneault has kind of installed in the Thunder The pace and space system, the get out and run and transition, and the kind of the defense that we're able to play. I think it's a really fun brand of basketball. And I think, just plugging in guys like Giddey, who, we talked about his playmaking ability and transition in the half court. Trey Mann, who, he struggled in summer league to score the ball, but he was a guy that was one of the best, I think, isolation scorers in the entire NCAA this past year. He's an absolute bucket. He can pull up, from the logo. So he's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And JRE, who's just a guy that can, he's a jack of all trades, kind of do it all. And you throw all those guys on top of Poku, who's, the most interesting man in basketball, basically, who I think has a lot of untapped potential. And of course, Dort and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. It's just going to be a really fun brand of basketball. It's hard to predict, like I said, what the team's going to look like record-wise. I would say that we'll probably be bottom 3 in the Western Conference. That's kind of my rough prediction, just because I feel like there's so many teams that are going to be good next year. I don't think it's easy to say there's a lot of teams that are going to actively trying to be bad. But I think we might be one of them. And it's not even, for trying to be bad. It's just the roster that we have. And the goal in mind is development, developing that young talent, giving them opportunities to fail and to learn, from that failure. So, yeah, I think we're going to be pretty bad next year, but who knows if Shai takes a leap, and, we're in play-in conversation, who knows what might happen. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel you with that. I think it'll probably be fun to watch, hopefully more fun than this year, even as you see those young guys develop even more. But your future with the Thunder is so bright. I'm just in so much shock about the number of picks you guys have going forward. I know I keep bringing that up, but you guys, even though in the past everything seems to have fallen apart for you guys, with all the greats you have lost that have passed through OKC, I think you have room for a lot of greatness coming your way in the future years. So there's definitely something to get excited about for Thunder Nation.
Yeah, for sure. I was like I said, we're kind of under the mantra of trust the Presti. There's a lot of fans that are kind of questioning that mantra right now. But I think, once they kind of take a step back, they let Summer League kind of be Summer League, that gap that we have from now to preseason, I think that, they'll start to calm down and, start to kind of look at this, like I said, from 10,000 feet and, try not to overreact as much, because at the end of the day, Presti's one of the best GMs in the league. I think that I can say that objectively. And, he has the biggest cachet of draft picks that really anybody has ever had to deal with. And whether he's going to use those picks to try to move up in draft, or whether he's going to try to package those picks and get a disgruntled star to play alongside Shai, once we're ready to take that step, it's going to be fun to watch. Whatever happens, we're just trusting Presti.
For sure. And I wish the best for you guys. I just wanted to thank you so much for coming on, Dylan. This was super fun. I've never thought I'd enjoy talking Thunder basketball this much, but I did today. And everyone listening, make sure you guys follow us on both Twitter and Instagram at Legacy Mambas. But once again, thank you, Dylan. And can you tell us where to find your podcast and your Twitter?
Yeah, for sure. So my podcast is at Thunder Chats, and my Twitter is at Thunder Chats. My podcast is at OKC Topic Thunder and Topic Thunder Podcast, anywhere you listen to your podcast. And yeah, definitely appreciate you having me on. Sorry I was a little difficult trying to get on, but we made it happen, and it was a good conversation, good time.
Of course. Thank you, Dylan.
Not a problem.